Welcome to the Non-Native and Invasive Species screencast. Remember that you may pause or go back at any time. Please make sure you have the following information with you: your non-native invasive species handout, your vocabulary handout for Ms. Cobb's class, that is notebook page 39, and a pen or pencil. Please take a look at your vocabulary handout. Read through the definitions for non-native species and invasive species. Can you explain these terms in your own words? This is question 1 on your handout. So, what is a non-native species? A non-native species can be any type of organism that can survive in its new habitat. In order to be called a non-native species, it must have been brought to its new location by human activity. Can you think of some ways that an organism can be brought to a new location? Look at the picture on the screen. All of those fruits and veggies are non-native species. At this point, please pause the video and answer question number 2. An invasive species is also a non-native species. However, an invasive species is one that harms or negatively affects an ecosystem. Invasive species are a form of biological pollution. Unlike other pollutants, such as chemicals and garbage, which could break down over time, an invasive species will continue to grow and spread if conditions are right. This can be especially problematic when people do not recognize invasive species. It can be a silent takeover. Another problem with invasive species is their beauty. Look at the picture on the screen. That is an invasive species. People buy plants for their garden or fish for their aquarium, and they don't realize that these organisms can affect their environment negatively. Please answer question number 3. So, what's the difference? Are all non-native species invasive? And are all invasive species non-native? This is question number 4. So, why do invasive species take over? Usually, invasive species are really good competitors in an ecosystem. The conditions have to be right in order for them to survive and thrive. They can gain a foothold in the new environment and take over from the already established organisms. An ecosystem can be overrun by invasive species. Look at this forest. Can you see the trees? They're covered with ivy. Look at the poor crops. These crops have lost out to nutrients and water because of invasive species. Our livestock can also be harmed. Certain invasive species can be poisonous to the animals that we keep for our food. So what are some ways that our environment can be harmed? Look at question number 6 on your handout. Question number 6 is a chart. I would like you to list some of the ways that the ecosystem, animals, and people can be harmed by invasive species. Let's look at some examples, especially from New Jersey. These are the species that are listed with New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection as invasive. These are only 4, but the list is much longer. The majority of non-native species that have been introduced to New Jersey have not become invasive, but the small percentage that has produces severe ecological and economic impacts. Thousands of non-native species have been intentionally or unintentionally brought to the United States and New Jersey. Many of these species are non-invasive. However, a small percentage has caused severe damage to our environment and our health. The economic damage caused by invasive species has been estimated to exceed $100 billion annually in the United States. New Jersey alone suffers from $290 million in annual agricultural losses alone. Let's look at the Asian longhorned beetle. The Asian longhorned beetle is native to Asia. The first breeding populations were discovered in New York in approximately 1996. They arrived accidentally in cargo from Asia. They are a very destructive wood-boring pest, and their favorite food is maple and other hardwoods. The Asian longhorn beetle kills the trees and can ultimately cause severe damage to an entire forest. Infestations of the beetle have been detected in Jersey City, Hoboken, Linden, Carteret, and Rahway. There has been a loss of over 21,000 mature trees due to the Asian longhorn beetle infestation in Union and Middlesex counties. Now let's talk about the Canada goose. In recent years, the Canada goose population has grown substantially. They are a pest because of their droppings, noise, and their confrontational behavior. They used to migrate, but due to climate change, they have taken up residency in New Jersey areas. The Canada goose population no longer has any known predators. Therefore, their population continues to rise. Next, we'll talk about the mile a minute. It's called the mile a minute because it can grow up to a half meter a day. It can climb over 20 feet in height. It was first introduced into the United States in the 1930s. The leaves, which are 1 to 3 inches wide, are bright green and triangular. The leaves and the stems have short spines and prickles. The rapid and dense growth of the mile a minute allows it to overtake natural vegetation, smother seedlings, and outcompete mature plants. The Eurasian water milfoil. They are unsure when this first appeared in the U.S., but they're estimating it came between the 1880s and the 1940s. The milfoil is very tolerant of a large range of pHs. It can be found in many ponds and lakes in New Jersey. This milfoil has cost our state over $100 million annually. The only 2 states in the country where this is not found is Wyoming and Hawaii. The Eurasian water milfoil grows in lakes, in low-energy areas of rivers, and other bodies of brackish and fresh water. It is very tolerant of pollutants and will establish in a disturbed habitat. It begins growing earlier in the season than other aquatic plants and can take over quickly. Let's sum up. Based on what you've seen in this video, you should be able to tell me the difference between a non-native, non-invasive species and a non-native, invasive species. You should be also able to tell me the effects that an invasive species can have on an environment. The very last thing you should be able to do is to develop a possible solution in order to deal with one of these invasive organisms. Please make sure to complete your handout and turn it in tomorrow.